Welcome to GoodNight Take One.
When
I am
did
your
the guest
host,
start doing
Liam
the
Quay.
You know what? I suck so bad at actually starting these podcasts. I'm just going to let the guest do the intro. Anyway.
All right. Today we talk about Doctor Strange. And
I was kidding. Shut your mouth. Anyway, so thank you. So I have Liam Quay on the show today. His technical name is Liam McDermott, but I'm going to call him Liam Quay because that's a fancier name.
Follow me on Instagram at Liam Quay.
We look like we just stumbled into some kind of James Bond lookalike contest, and this is what came out of it. A blue navy garbage tux with whatever you're wearing. All right, welcome back to the podcast. I'll be your host for the evening, as I usually am. Steve, my gosh, this guy's name is really inconsistent throughout the podcast. I think it started off as Larry, and then it went to Jeff. You know what? I got to stick to something. I'll stick to something eventually. But right now, his name is going to be Steve for the duration of this podcast, and maybe it'll change next time. Maybe it'll be something else. For those of you who are listening on the audio podcast, it's my saber-tooth tigers that's next to me, whose eyes I look at in the middle of the night because it gives me comfort in the darkest of hours. Anyway, we're going to talk about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So I have someone who's on the podcast who knows film very well, who's a pretty good film critic, and he has seen Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I have also seen the same movie, and we have very differing opinions on the movie. I come from a more negative opinion. You come from a more positive opinion. Liam, can you tell me what was interesting, what interested you the most about the movie?
Well, first, I'm going to start off by saying that I usually have to watch a film like 3 times before I process everything, and I've watched this once 2 days ago, and I also did not watch WandaVision, so I watched it once, and I was very confused for about 30 minutes into the film, but I did enjoy the film once I caught on.
Okay.
And there's very specific reasons for that, but before we start with that, I want to ask you your opinion on the film, because I know that we have differing opinions of the film.
Okay, so I know that you like the film, and to be clear, I do also enjoy the film. There are very many aspects that I enjoy. The positives first, Sam Raimi. This movie is a Sam Raimi production. At least the best parts about this are a Sam Raimi production.
Absolutely.
It has the Marvel aspects, obviously, and you're never going to get away from that because it's a Marvel production. But that being said, the Raimi aspects of this movie were great. The horror movie aspects were great. They're not necessarily scary, and that's fine because there are kids in the audience, but they were handled very well. I think everything with Scarlet Witch was fantastic. I did not expect to go into this movie loving her as much as I did, especially because she had the worst line in the trailers. What is it like when she was talking to Doctor Strange and she said, "When you break the rules, you're a hero, but when I break the rules, I'm a villain. I don't think that's fair." Despite the fact that she took an entire town hostage in her own TV series, I thought Doctor Strange was okay, but I felt like Doctor Strange, he was good. Benedict Cumberbatch does a good job acting. And the visuals and the camera work were amazing, and the special effects were great. I think that's really where my compliments for the movie end. What about you?
So, I want to add on to your point. This movie was very Sam Raimi, and that's what I enjoy about it, particularly, is the fact that he really shined. He really expressed some of the old-fashioned Evil Dead style cinematography, and that excited me. I actually disagree. I thought some of the scenery was horrifying. I was watching it going like, I cannot believe I'm watching a Marvel film, and you know my opinion of Marvel films. I'm not really too fond of them. I think a lot of them are very copy, paste, formulaic, but that's specifically what I enjoyed so much about this film. On the other hand, I agree with you on the development of Scarlet Witch. I really did enjoy Scarlet Witch character, even though I didn't understand anything because I didn't watch WandaVision. So I was confused for like the first 30 minutes watching it. I was like, kids? Okay, I guess. I kind of caught on to it. I was just figuring, kids she doesn't have anymore. Okay, I can get the motivation. I don't know why she doesn't have her kids. I don't know where the kids came from. I'm kind of clueless, and I was hoping that you would explain that to me.
So, just recap for WandaVision, and I guess spoilers for WandaVision, and also spoilers for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Going forward, we're going to spoil the crap out of this movie for certain cameos and other things that are in the movie. So, that's okay. I'll talk to you about that, but first, I am worried about the whole connected universe at this point, because I feel like at this point in time, it gets really confusing going forward. And honestly, as I was watching this movie, I was really confused about the motivations and how this works and why this works. And at this point in time, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has gotten to a point where essentially anything is possible. You can time travel, you can travel through universes, and now I'm just really confused of what the rules are. That's my only really concern, the Marvel Cinematic Universe going forward. But anyway, back to WandaVision. In that series, what happens is after the death of Vision, her love, which was a robot, which is kind of weird. It makes her some kind of a furry, but with robots. So after the death of Vision, she creates a fictional universe for herself by capturing an entire town full of people and forcing them to do her bidding. And it plays itself out as like a sitcom. So she's living inside of a sitcom where she recreated Vision and she created children for herself to have, 2 boys. And it's a fantasy world. None of this stuff is real, but all the people that she's taken captive are all real people that she's literally mind controlling. And the Vision, which is kind of a cool part of the series, the Vision that is in her universe is actually the dead body of Vision that she's literally bringing back to life, which is really messed up when you think about it, but it's kind of cool. Anyway, the series ends up derailing at the end when the series tries to make anyone but Wanda the villain in the story, which really, if you think about it for 2 seconds, she's the villain in her own story. And they make this other character that they bring in at the last second to be the main villain in this series called Agatha. She's a random other witch that they try and force her to become the villain instead of having Wanda be the villain. I think that series suffered from the fact that they didn't make Wanda the true villain of the series, and they try and force her to become the hero when she's not really the hero, she's the villain. And so that was my whole detriment of the series. So at the end of the series, she ends up setting everyone free, letting everything go, and then living off on her own, and she brings this little dark book with her that she stole from Agatha to study. And so that's what's in this movie. That's the dark book that's in this movie that she's studying to figure out these things and do these different spells. The reason why I'm really happy with what they did in this show, they made her the villain. They finally redeemed what they didn't do in the show, and they made her the villain of this TV series. Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness. And I didn't expect that going in. I was happy to figure that out. That, okay, finally she's going to be the villain, and she has the best scenes of this movie by far. She has so many horror movie moments where she gets to wreck house and destroy people, and so many horror movie moments. I mean,
the scene where they have to cover all the reflections.
Oh man!
And she crawls out, and her limbs are twisting and turning. That was the moment where I knew they gave Sam Raimi plenty of creative freedom in this film.
My man, I mean, the camera is going all over the place. Like, is whip panning and all is going through walls, through eyeballs. It is Sam Raimi has a great vision.
Well, pretty much up until that point, it was a very typical Marvel film. You had the random jokes that were thrown in randomly. You had currently with what Marvel's been doing for the past since like 2018.
Yeah,
terrible cinematography. I am sorry. Infinity War looks awful.
I disagree with that.
Infinity War looks ugly. But what we're gonna I don't want to get too distracted here. The terrible, very boring, plain cinematography, the dialogue that kind of overshadows any natural like sound in the environment.
Yeah.
So it just feels strange listening to it and watching it on screen. Once we got to Wanda actually it up, that's when the movie started really picking up. That's where it got exciting for me. And I noticed that you were telling me earlier that you don't like Strange's character in this film, that you prefer Wanda.
I'm not a huge fan.
I will agree, Wanda is way better than Strange in this film.
Okay.
But I do like Strange, but I want you to get on to what you didn't like about Strange in this film.
So I didn't like Strange in this movie because I felt like the movie didn't know what to do with him, because I felt like any character arc that he was given was juggled incoherently throughout the entire film. Because he starts the film, and obviously he's upset with the fact that he never got to marry this lady, and that she's moved on, and he hasn't moved on. He clearly still loves her, and he wishes he could be with her. He wishes he could be happy. And the supposed character arc at the end of the film is essentially getting him to move on, move past it, and change for the better, if that's what I think the character arc is. And I don't think they handled that well at all. I felt like whatever character development they were going to give him at the end was lost in translation and given more focus on Wanda, which again I was fine with Wanda and everything with her was great in my opinion, but I felt like they lost faith in Doctor Strange, and I felt like I'm just confused as to what they were trying to do with his character and how he ended up where he ended up.
Okay, I can see your point on no other character really being a direction. They tried to make other characters, especially with America Chavez, which we'll get onto her in a second.
Oh man, her.
But I think that they tried to make America his motivation for changing. I can see where you weren't so convinced on it, because personally I wasn't so convinced. I do like the aspect of him dealing with the other versions of himself, seeing that the other versions of himself have fallen and basically broke bad, for lack of a better term. And
Say my name.
him having to him understanding that, and him coming to the point of using what was it called? It was the dark
Book of Evilness.
The Dark Book of Evilness.
The Dark Book of Everything sucks a lot when you use
this
book.
I'm gonna feel really stupid watching this. Anyways, when he actually tries to use witchcraft himself, he is susceptible to falling and becoming the same person that these other Stranges were, and I think that they handled that pretty well. I can agree that I wasn't very convinced of any other character motivating him to be a better person. I do think that it was more of a personal journey, as we know from past films, and some suggestion is in this film, which I don't remember if they brought it up in a previous film or not, but where they're talking about how his sister drowned, and how ever since that day he had to be the one, quote unquote, holding the knife. He had to be the one in control, and then eventually he broke his hands, lost control, and then went on his whole journey. And we all know that journey. I do like how they handled that element, but I can agree that there were some things lost in translation.
It really was. And again, I want to go back to the character arc that I thought was going to happen.
I do want to add to that note that it did give me the same kind of feeling that some of Raimi's previous films, particularly Spider-Man and Spider-Man 3. It did give me. It's not the same thing by any chance, but it did evoke that same feeling.
Yeah, those Spider-Man 3 fans out there, my man, that movie's underrated and great. Anyone who says otherwise is wrong. So, back to Doctor Strange. My biggest issue with him is I thought they were going through two character developments. One was dealing with power, how to control your power, how to be responsible with your power, and the other one is moving on, because obviously they were setting that up from the beginning with the lady that he was going to marry. I don't know her name. I'm not going to be required to know her name. She was in it for 4 seconds. That was 4 seconds. I'm not going to remember her name. She's a very unimportant character. I don't know what they were trying to go for in that element, and I feel like it was lost in translation. I don't get it. And maybe other people do. That's fine. If you liked it, whatever. I don't like it at all very much. Let's go back to America Chavez for a second. By the way, why was she named America? I want to ask.
I actually don't know. She's from a lot of the newer comics, and I don't know anything about her. I watched one little video, and I had it playing in the background, so I didn't really pay attention.
I thought they were gonna have a reason why she was named. Like she's named America. Is this not stupid to you that she's named America and her, shirt is stars and stripes? Is that not the corniest thing you ever seen in your life?
It is a little corny, but I guess it reflects the actress's corny acting, which
oh my gosh, she's not a good actress.
Was awful. It took me out of the movie every time she spoke.
It's so bad. Look, I get if the actress is trying to find a career. Like, good for you. You found a Marvel film. Somehow you got into it. And I honestly fault the casting director, because she's supposed to find the best person. And they didn't find the best person. They didn't find a great person. She's not great. It's not good. It's not great. It's not good. It's really not good. I don't know how else to say it.
You want to stress that a bit further?
I could keep going. We could just be the entire podcast of me saying she's not a good actress. Man, she can't sell the emotional scenes. I feel like there's a certain scene in this movie where she's seeing her parents, be sucked up into this another dimension or another wherever. I don't even know where her powers are anymore. I'm starting to forget.
She helps people travel through the multiverse.
Yeah, she helps people travel through the multiverse, and her parents get sucked into another multiverse. And you see her, and she's really trying to sell the emotional weight of this scene, but she has the same face as she does when she's scared or happy or anything else. She has the same attitude. And I feel like, again, I don't want to crap on this actress as much as possible. I feel like she's trying her best, so whatever. But at the same time, I also feel like this is part of the director and the writers, because whoever wrote this character, the most unbearably frustrating character to work with. She is a brat. The whole movie.
I was actually just about to jump onto that. The terrible acting wouldn't have been so bad if her character was likable, but I did not like her character one bit. She was just a typical kind of teenage brat that is a little bit annoying, but also a little bit emotional. And wow, the grown man is learning a lot from this young girl and developing. And it's a trope that we've seen 1,000 times, and I wasn't into it.
It's like it's the young generation of like, I know better than you, old man, and then all Doctor Strange had to do was say one word like, I fought Thanos. What did you do? That's it. Man fought Thanos. Man fought Thanos, and by the way, laid some smack on Thanos. Man smacked down on Thanos. The big testicle-looking chin man that guy was, smacked him down pretty good. Not only that, but he is responsible for outsmarting what is essentially a god, Dormammu, in his first movie. Getting that guy trapped. The man is intelligent, smart, and powerful. And he's being back-talked to this chick who shouldn't really know any better. Like, the chick is smart. Like, okay, it's a whole attitude problem that I feel like I have with a lot of writing nowadays, where just a lot of characters who are younger just lay down the smack on older characters, and the older characters have a very easy and very intelligent rebuttal that none of them ever say.
Well, not to mention that it really undersells any emotional complexity that you're trying to give her, because she's a brat up until this point where she sees her past, and then all of a sudden, she had two moms. Yeah. Her two moms are coming up to her, and then she disappears, and we're all of a sudden supposed to feel bad after she was just an annoying, uninteresting brat for the past 30 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, when the ending finally comes, and Doctor Strange, in his zombie form, by the way, which is great, is having that emotional conversation like, I believe in you. Like, I don't believe you even like her. This chick's a brat. This chick's annoying. I don't believe you like her at all. I think you just think she's annoying, which is what the audience thinks. There's no real reason for me to like this character aside from she has a tragic backstory. There, you can give a character a tragic backstory, but if you're in, for all intents and purposes, a butt the entire film, then I really don't care about you. In fact, I hope you get sucked up in the portal with your family and join them. And the way the writers wrote her did not give me a good reason to care about her.
See, and now that you're mentioning this, I'm kind of second-guessing a lot of my opinions on the film. but I will stand firm that I was thoroughly entertained watching this, and I enjoyed it way more than a lot of other Marvel films, because a lot of other Marvel films are very ugly looking. Yep. There's no creativity to them, with the exception of maybe Guardians of the Galaxy. You could say Thor Ragnarok, but I don't like that movie. You and I disagree on that. I really don't like Thor Ragnarok.
Your opinion is invalid.
It felt like an episode of Friends the entire film.
That's the best part.
Thor Ragnarok has everything I hate about a Marvel movie in a span of 2 hours. The unfunny, well, if they are funny, mostly unfunny. If they are funny, it's a little chuckle. Random jokes that are just inserted in the middle of a scene for no reason, which completely pulls you out of the film. That's a big problem I had with Infinity War as well, especially in the beginning scenes where there's this threat coming to Earth, and they're just joking every 5 seconds. I'm just like, geez, something, please. I'm tired of hearing punchlines over and over again. It was like, we got the Mr. Stark Ben and Jerry's ice cream, or whatever it was called. It's like, what was the point of that line? It feels like you just forced that line. I'm going off on a whole tangent here, but it really does annoy me. But to get to the point, what I did like about this movie, even though it had quite a bit of those moments of random bits of humor inserted for no particular reason other than to get a small little laugh, I did like that there seemed to be a lot more creative freedom expressed in this film.
Oh my goodness!
It sucked me in.
Mm-hmm.
Other than the small moments that pull me out of the movie, which is typical for me when I go to see a Marvel film, it really sucked me in. I loved. Don't even get me started on the fight scene between Sinister Strange and Doctor Strange toward the end with the music notes.
Oh my gosh.
That was so creative.
And the fact
that was wonderful. That is one of the most creative things I've ever seen in a Marvel film. I was sucked in the entire fight scene.
Great.
I was like, this cannot be produced by Marvel. Marvel's not creative enough to come up with something like this. I was genuinely intrigued, especially, and that goes back to a whole lot of the other Sam Raimi shots where I sat up on my seat like this, going like, "There's no way this movie was produced by Marvel," because it was just so visually different than a lot of other Marvel films, and I got a lot of my enjoyment out of that. And I'm a little biased because after seeing so many plain shots, it was nice to see something creative being done, especially, and I do like Homecoming. Homecoming
is so bland.
Looks hideous.
It's not great.
It looks like it was shot on a computer.
I mean, most of Marvel movies are kind of shot on computer.
No,
they really are.
Homecoming to a different extent, and the thing is, they had the whole COVID protocols with the film. So when the actors,
do you mean Homecoming? Do you mean Far From Home?
Oh, No Way Home actually.
No Way.
Correct. So we're both wrong.
Man, these home movies.
No, they had all the COVID protocols, so the actors weren't in the same room, which is typical for a Marvel film. But it was very obvious in a lot of scenes in that film.
A little bit.
And I will say that it was a little... if they had the same protocols during Multiverse of Madness, I don't know. It was a lot more convincing. That may be just that Sam Raimi's a much better director than John Watts. But I'm still going off a whole tangent. This movie visually was beautiful. I was engaged pretty much the entire film. And it was a lot like Shang-Chi, where it actually looked kind of nice the entire film.
Yeah. You can agree with me that the best parts in this film were Sam Raimi moments.
Absolutely.
And you can definitely tell where Marvel interjected, because this movie went through some extensive reshoots, and there's actually like 40 extra minutes that were cut from the movie that you can only really imagine that were the extra Sam Raimi moments.
Probably awesome.
Yeah, probably awesome. And the fact there was an entire haunted house section of the movie that was taken out, and the fact that we get some really great horror movie moments, especially with Scarlet Witch and some certain cameos that I'll get into in just a second. That was such a great opportunity. Let's get into the cameos.
The cameos
of the movie. We have one good cameo, the other one sucks balls. So the ones that... Okay, so we have the Illuminati in this movie. It was ruined by the trailer, and so were some of the freaking cameos are ruined by the trailer. You saw Professor X in one of the trailers. Like, that ruined it. Yeah, that's stupid.
Well, kind of. You didn't fully see him, but you heard his voice.
You heard his voice.
And you knew who he was. Knew. Yes, Professor X is in this movie. And let me just say, there was a little moment. And when I was a kid, I was raised in the 90s. Even though I was raised in the 2000s, I was raised in the 90s Spider-Man and X-Men. So when I saw Professor X entering the room and he goes, da-na-na,
yeah.
I did get a little goosebump. He's in his little chair from the 90s cartoon. I had a complete nostalgic breakdown there. That was amazing. As far as the Fantastic, who's the guy?
John Krasinski. The man from Jim from The Office and the director and writer of A Quiet Place Part 1 and 2.
I don't know. I haven't watched the remake of Fantastic. That was him.
Yeah,
I just realized that.
Man, you did?
Now that I think about it, I haven't watched The Office.
That's been fan casting for many years. A lot of people have been petitioning for John Krasinski to play Mr. Fantastic.
See, I just realized that while watching the movie. I didn't pick up because I'm not really a big fan of The Office or of him. I don't know much about him, so I was just kind of watching the movie. I was like, Fantastic Four. I've seen that actor on Facebook, and
Because that's
Instagram.
That's the cameo that freaked me out. Because I'm one of those people that has said like he would be great for Mr. Fantastic, and a lot of people have said his acting sucked in the movie. I disagree. I think that's stupid because he's awesome. I also feel like it's very short-lived because a lot of these characters die immediately.
I was about to say, to be fair, he didn't have much screen time, and they didn't give him much to work with.
Yeah,
I think he did fine for what.
Yeah, I mean, for those of you who are listening in and did not see the movie and are not interested in spoilers, yeah, friggin' Wanda comes in and murders them all rather wonderfully. There's a man who can apparently destroy you with a word, and then she seals his mouth shut. He speaks a word and blows his head up. It's amazing.
Can we talk about the fact that Professor X has now officially died more than Uncle Ben on screen?
That's upsetting. That's upset. Okay, so...
And he doesn't really go out in any epic way in any of the films. I mean, Logan was sad, but...
It wasn't epic.
It wasn't epic, and he kind of just died in the very beginning of Last Stand.
Yeah, it was kind of lame. I mean, I kind of like that movie. I'm not going to lie. I like Last Stand, but...
It's okay to be wrong.
It's... Well, we can argue that later. But, what is it? You're kind of right, and then he dies in this one because he enters Wanda's mind, and then she snaps his neck, which is amazing.
He enters Wanda's mind looking like Steve Jobs.
He dies.
Trying to pull Wanda out of... Okay, this was cheesy. I'm not going to lie. This was trying to pull Wanda out of the rubble in her mind. I was like, that's stupid.
I kind of liked that moment because you had the silent creep up of the fog and then just a jump scare Wanda coming out and snapping his neck.
See, that shot was cool, but I was laughing a bit because he just transitioned. He's in her head, and he's just wearing a turtleneck. He's like, Wanda... If I can pull you from the rubble, I was like, this is stupid.
Wanda, introducing.
This is so stupid.
Introducing the new iPhone.
This is so stupid. And I was just laughing. I was sitting back laughing the entire time. I was sitting next to my little brother, because I went to go see it with my family. I was sitting next to my little brother, and he was looking at me as that scene was happening, and he just sees me laughing. He's having a hard time not laugh. Everyone's invested because, of course, it's cool. You got Professor X. You got Patrick Stewart playing Professor X in the MCU, so everyone's invested. I'm just laughing because the scene was just—it was kind of ridiculous, but I did enjoy it. It was fun.
Yeah, I did. Again, like the whole sequence with all the characters and the other characters that we get to see are what is it? Captain Carter, but not Captain Carter. She's like Captain America or Captain Britain. From like what is it the cartoon show that the Marvel released on Netflix? What If? That was cool. I like to see her.
Well, I do believe she was in the comic. I don't know much about her. I haven't seen What If. I haven't seen any of the shows on Disney Plus because I don't have Disney Plus, and Marvel disappoints me too much for me to be invested in watching a whole season of each of their shows.
So she's in like that's the whole scenario of if she got the serum that Captain America got instead of Steve Rogers. It's a decent story. It's all right, but I liked seeing her because I like the actress that portrays Captain Carter. This goes to show that in any universe, Captain Marvel is unbearable because she carries the attitude of I am better than thou and am the worst possible human being. Captain Marvel's the worst. So I didn't like her.
They just cast her badly.
They just cast her bad. Well, she was also played.
I mean, to be fair, she's not that great in the comics. From what little I have read and from what I've heard, she's not that great in the comics.
Well, the person that plays her was the African, the black chick from the James Bond movie, which I actually really liked her in the James Bond movie, and I do not like her in this because she just plays Captain Marvel, and by nature, Captain Marvel's the worst. And then you have Reed Richards, and then this guy who can speak one word and then you die. So that was the Illuminati with plus Professor X. And then they all die from Wanda, which is such a... I love that little fight, but you can tell this is the part where Marvel took over. This is not a Sam Raimi moment. This is the part where Marvel took over. And you can tell the parts in the movie where Marvel took over. And Sam Raimi did not have as much influence. And you can agree with me that all the moments where Sam Raimi was involved were the best moments.
They made the film.
Yeah, they made the film. And everyone's like raving that it feels like a Raimi movie for the most part. Some parts obviously feel like a Marvel movie, but there are a lot of parts that Raimi got to shine and he got to show his career. They said, you like to move the camera around a lot, all the time, every day. Do it.
Oh, that last scene where the demons are surrounding Wanda and the camera's moving around her. You know what I'm talking about.
Uh-huh.
I loved it.
So good.
And that's all I can say. I loved it. I was watching that scene. I was like, yes, I want more of this. I wanted more of that in the film. And especially when they originally showed up when Stephen was walking up the mountain very slowly, and they're like, Stephen Strange, possessing a dead body is against the. They didn't say this, but we're gonna go Fairly Odd Parents with this and say against the rules.
Yep. Again, I did not see this part coming. The fact that when Doctor Strange was in a completely different universe, I thought they were gonna BS their way out of this and have him like move into the other. No, he possesses his dead self and goes and has a cape of demons and flies over to Wanda. That's the best thing ever.
And they set it up pretty well too, because I was thinking. From the rules that were established prior, I was like, I don't know what they're gonna do here. And he says, "Who said it had to be living?" And I was like, "Oh, what? That is so clever!" And they just cut to the shot of the rubble, and you're like, "That little that's filmmaking right there. Just little moments like that set up something later in the film. You don't even think about it.
Payoff.
And it was a great payoff. You see him rise through the bricks, and he starts walking. That was so glorious.
I thought it was also hilarious when he was talking to people like,
and they didn't make him talk all normal. They made him talk like a dead corpse. So
I thought that was like, and again, if you see Sam Raimi's early movies, Evil Dead, there's a lot of that type of like disgusting body humor, and I feel like that was his way of like implementing that. Like, it was hilarious, and especially because I don't like America Chavez and his little motivational speech to her at the very end. I thought it was hilarious. It's just because he's a zombie Doctor Strange giving the motivational speech. Your mouth is falling off, and you're the one that's giving the motivational speech. It's hilarious. It's the best part.
It is so beautiful, and it is so Raimi, and I am very appreciative. See, him and Kevin Feige are friends, so I figured that Kevin Feige would give him a little bit of leeway when it came to creative freedom.
Listen,
I did not expect. I thought it was going to be one or two moments. Yep. I did not expect to see it in quite a few scenes.
Yeah,
I was saying it's a Raimi film. I really love Sam Raimi. I don't know if they're going to express a lot of his creative style. I feel like they may have one or two moments, but no, they actually expressed it quite a bit.
Because there's a lot of directors that don't give their time to shine, and you have all these not really big name directors. You have all these directors that are coming in and they don't have a creative style. They're going in the Marvel machine. I feel like with the exception of Taika Waititi, which even if you don't like Thor, you can definitely say that's a Taika Waititi film, and James Gunn, who directed the 2 Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Those are definitely James Gunn's movies and James Gunn's babies. This is a pretty good representation of a PG-13 Marvel movie, Sam Raimi movie. And I feel like a lot of the Marvel movies where the directors get to take reign, even if you don't like Thor Ragnarok, even if you don't like Guardians of the Galaxy, those movies are beloved and are held as some of the best Marvel movies because the directors got to have that creative freedom.
Credit where credit is due. Thor Ragnarok does take a lot more artistic liberties than a lot of other Marvel films that are just cut and paste. So credit where credit's due. I wasn't a fan of it. I was just groaning the entire time. But credit where credit's due, I'll give him that.
I will always disagree because I think that movie is just party, and Taika Waititi as Korg is the greatest thing. You can't like Korg like walking over like when Loki's like in the prison with Thor and he's running away and he disappears and he kicks the wall like piss off ghosts. He's freaking gone. He's the greatest thing.
Well, there was one scene that I did like. That's when Hulk tries to jump and transform the Hulk, and he just breaks all his bones.
Oh, that's fantastic.
On the bridge, and he's just like that got a laugh out of me. I'll admit that most of it was just the typical Marvel humor of inserting joke here.
But it definitely had the Taika Waititi humor, and again, especially with Korg, because he is Taika Waititi. Like, hello, my name is Cole. This is my friend Mink. We're gonna jump on the spaceship and get out of here. Want to come? I think it gave so much like individuality to that character. I just love it so much. You don't have to like that movie. It's not a requirement, but you have to agree that it's to a certain point. with all these directors that get this creative freedom, that get this ability to say, you know what, let's try something here, let's try something here, let's try something new. Those individual elements stand out and give those Marvel movies that are mostly cut and paste a lot of personality.
Now, what I do want to get onto is
yeah, baby,
wasted potential.
Oh, baby.
I feel like
the whole movie.
Well,
not the whole movie. Some of the movie. A lot of the movie.
A lot of the movie was fun to watch. I can agree with your points on some of the story elements and some of the character development elements, but it was just so fun to watch that I can forgive that.
Oh yeah,
to an
I will
extent.
definitely.
And
watch
I don't
this
even
movie
think
again.
that Strange's development was all that bad. Mm-hmm. Was it lacking? Sure. Was it bad? Absolutely not. I thought it was perfect for what the film was. Characters that were just kind of there. I mean, I guess Wong is just kind of always there.
Wong.
I wish they would just really go out with Wong. I really like Wong, and I want to see more of his character expressed. But it just seems like they try to. They put him in the foreground for a minute, then he comes back, and he's pretty much just removed from the film for a long. Especially in this one, he just gets knocked off the cliff, and then he's removed from the film for like almost the rest of the film.
That part's wasted.
And then he just kind of comes back up at the end. It's not really a significant return, but
yeah, that part's wasted. I think Wong is in a lot of ways the comic relief of Doctor Strange movies, which I'm fine with because I love Wong. I think he's so funny and so fun to be around because he is really powerful and can stand toe to toe with Doctor Strange. But he's also just freaking hilarious. I just like Wong. I think Wong is hilarious. I just like seeing... And I think he had a lot of great moments to shine, especially in the beginning. He did get wasted when he got knocked out. But I don't think there's anything that you could do specifically with this character in this movie. So I thought, yeah, he's there. He serves his purpose. I don't think there was any particular character that I feel was necessarily wasted in screen time. But I will say the boys who play, Wanda's kids, they're also not good acters. But
they're kids, Jacob.
I know. All right, welcome back from the edit. My camera died, and I had to get back to that. You were saying, Liam? Sorry.
The kids were not good actors. They were god awful. I hope they never get hired.
They're kids.
Maybe ever again. I never want to see you perform again.
Be like Leonardo DiCaprio. Be amazing at age 1.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Let's touch on one more thing about this movie. The ending. Not the post-credit scenes. Those suck, except the last one. But the ending of the movie. The actual ending of the movie. When Doctor Strange realizes he has another eye and he's been affected by the Dark Book.
Yes.
That's a Sam Raimi ending right there. Drag Me to Hell, Evil Dead.
There was no better way to end that.
Oh my gosh.
I liked in this case that it just kind of happened. He was just walking and the next thing you know, he's just screaming and it opens into film. I was like, all right.
That's perfect.
And yes, the post-credit scene did suck.
Yeah, what is it? Charlize Theron was in it.
Yeah.
Like, who is she? Like, what is this? I don't even know what that is.
As much as I love to claim that I love Doctor Strange, I haven't read many Doctor Strange comics growing up, and I don't know too much about the character. I know the basics. I've read a few. I've seen him in the Spider-Man 90s cartoon, and I liked what I've read. I've liked what I've seen. If I'm being honest, I have no idea who that character is.
No idea. She looked like a Power Ranger.
She did look kind of goofy.
It looked like a cartoon. More the fact that Marvel elements are cartoons, but they can at least bring them to reality, and this was terrible.
Especially during the multiverse scene where they actually go into the What If universe.
Yeah.
For just a moment. I thought that was interesting. But you said cartoon, and that's what came to mind.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that there was a small moment.
Small moment where he just transitions into the What If universe.
My entire theater laughed at that point. I thought they were going to stop there, like, y'all should stop. That'd be great, but they didn't.
That was pretty interesting.
They had to go into this Earth where they had one political line, which was always fantastic for Marvel movies, which is exactly what I want to go into.
Oh, let's get into it.
Let's go. The political line. What is it? I'm gonna stare into Larry's eyes.
Are you talking about the pizza scene?
The pizza scene. Oh yeah,
oh yes, the
you can pay for crap.
See, in other universes they don't pay for food. It's weird that you guys do. It's like
that was on the nose. Just
oh
a little bit.
Man, that was awful. That was painful. I felt my entire body crush and cringe when I watched that.
That's Marvel's manual annual movie attempt to try and seem woke.
They've been doing that lately. I haven't seen
yeah.
I mean, they've been doing that
pretty
for
noticeably.
A few years. I haven't seen the Captain America series, not the Captain America, the Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Oh my gosh!
I did see part of the final scene and I turned it off because I was just like, this is too on the nose and
awful. That's the thing, Falcon and Winter Soldier, the series. It's not bad. It's actually pretty entertaining, but as it really continues, there's not really. It kind of becomes stale. It really becomes stale. Like, the villain is terrible. The chick villain is the worst. Like, the actress who portrays her is not great either. She doesn't portray a large range of emotions. Either way, there's an ending scene with Anthony Mackie, who, by the way, as a personality figure, I love. He's hilarious.
Great. He's awesome.
But there's a scene where Anthony Mackie's Falcon, who just became the new Captain America with wings and a new suit, and he's talking to a politician, and he says, "You got to do better, Senator," as if anything of what he's going to say is going to have any long-term effects on anything ever. But the show really thinks it is, and the show is really patting itself on the back.
There's a lot of people that are going to hate that I'm holding this shield. I was like,
oh my gosh, ooh.
Save me. That's all I had to see, and I was like, I'm not watching it.
You know that, like, the Marvel executives in the corner who are just like screaming, "Do you get it? Do you get it? Do you get the reference?"
That's on you. Change. Be better, guys. What are you doing?
We just changed America for the better.
Why aren't you concerned about these important issues? But that's enough of that.
We're so on the nose.
We're gonna cut to the final after credits scene, which was funny and great, but a complete waste of your time if you want to see anything for the future of Marvel.
It is a waste. I mean,
it's a cut back to the Bruce Campbell scene where he's punching himself, which is a reference to Evil Dead.
It is Evil Dead 2.
Is it 2? Yes.
Where it
was 2.
Yep.
I couldn't remember if it was the first one or the second one, but that was a funny scene.
It's actually
I caught it the second it happened.
Actually, it's a reference to Evil Dead 3. I apologize. It actually might be a reference to Evil Dead 2.
You mean Army of Darkness?
I haven't seen that one in a while. I'm going to call it Evil Dead 3.
Or it's Army of Darkness.
Is Evil Dead 3. Whatever.
It's Army of Darkness.
I don't give a crap. It's Evil Dead
Jacob.
3. It's whatever. It's the same character. But yeah, it's all right. Let's talk about something else for a second that has nothing to do with Marvel at all. James Cameron's new masterpiece, the new Avatar movie.
I don't care. I do not care.
It looks like a fun trailer.
I saw Avatar as a kid, and I do not care about it at all.
I didn't really care about it
either. It's critically acclaimed for being really good at CGI.
I mean, the CGI does look great. You can't deny that.
I don't care about it
all right.
all. It's I watched it. Everyone's like, yeah! And I'm just like,
whatever.
Cool. I don't remember anything about this
movie.
movie.
It's been 12?
I've watched it once.
How many years has it been? Like 13 years? 12 years?
I think it came out in 2010.
Really?
I'm pretty sure it did.
12 years. Gracious. That's a long time.
I guess the fans were dying to see a second movie.
I guess so.
They needed more money. We need money.
But it's still the highest grossing film ever. Like, it retook Endgame. How on earth do they...
We spent it all. Please put it back on the top.
Cocaine is a high list of priorities in Hollywood, and it costs a lot of money, so we gotta make another Avatar movie.
We're out of money. Please spend. We want this to be just as critically acclaimed as the first one.
We need some cocaine money.
We threw it together. It doesn't look as good as the first one, which came out 12 years ago.
Are you insane? It looks great. The underwater stuff looks gorgeous. Here's the thing.
Maybe I'm just adapted to CGI, or
maybe
it may be that I've seen CGI so much that when I see it, I'm just kind of like.
Here's the thing with James Cameron. James Cameron, I feel like, has a lot of the George Lucas syndrome in the fact that he is now allowed to do whatever he wants. He's now allowed to revolutionize filmmaking as it is. Why I'm saying that is because he has done Terminator, Titanic, all these classic movies, and George Lucas did Star Wars and all these classic movies with the prequels. He decided to revolutionize technology.
It worked out so well.
And then with Avatar, James Cameron decided to do the same thing. I think essentially the man is allowed to do whatever he wants. And he's just experimenting with technology at this point.
We're getting into very dangerous territory when you let people experiment with whatever they want. In film. Listen, I am all for creative freedom, but sometimes directors have terrible ideas that need interference from the studio.
He does, and at the same time, I don't particularly love the first Avatar. I think it's a visually amazing experience with some really great scenes and some scenes that are really terrible because they're trying to get a piece of rock that's called unobtainium, which is the worst name to anything.
I don't remember that. See, that's how much I don't care about.
Lucky you.
I remember the tail thing. Whatever that was.
Oh yeah, they link up their tails and their ponytails, and then
Is that supposed to represent sex? I'm confused.
Intercourse? I'm not sure. Maybe intercourse with the earth. I'm not sure.
I don't remember. I was 10 and I was basically just eating my pop. I was very uninterested in the
film.
Later,
I watched. Some guy in their mom's basement. It's just think. Does that mean that he's having intercourse with the earth? And that represents humanity becoming one with the earth because I got it.
Boy, howdy. I don't think we have anything else to say about this scene.
No, we're done. Here's what's going to happen right now. I'm going to stare into Larry's eyes, which may or may not be his name at this point. His name keeps changing throughout the podcast. What?
So I said scene. I had to correct myself.
Scene. What?
I interrupted you. You start over. You stare into Larry's eyes?
Oh, yeah. I stare into Larry's eyes, and we have a deep philosophical conversation about things that he can't talk about because he's dead, and also not even dead, he was never living. He's an inanimate object and a skull. But I love him very much. He's my best friend. Liam, thank you for coming on the podcast today. I really do appreciate you being here and talking nonsense Marvel crap with me.
Oh, you are absolutely welcome, and all I have to say is, good night. Take one.
You're fired. I hate you. Anyway, my guy, Ernesto, roll those credits.